Welcome to episode 3 of our abandoned garden shed.
Who abandoned it? We abandoned it when we bought this abandoned home that was abandoned by the previous owner.
Now we're taking $500 in 5 weeks and turning it from dilapidated to enchanted. So far, we've reframed it, we've painted the inside, and we've put on a new roof. Now it's time to design the interior and take it from an empty shell to garden ready.
Because we have a lot of planting to do.
But first,
we have some tool sorting to do. Some was Marie's, the previous owner, and some of it's ours.
later in the video, I put in a little game for you. If you've been watching for a while, or if you want to go back and check out our garage cleanout video, let us know if you can find the one item that I'm going to put into this garden shed that came from our garage cleanout 2.5 years ago. This is the wall we have to store the yard tools on. I had envisioned this being a beautifully curated wall of shovels, rakes, and pruning shears. So let's see how it all turns out.
And keeping with the theme of reusing what we already have, these racks were mounted here in the garage, but I took them down to make more room for this side of the garage that I'm using as my shop. Now it's time to clean them up, and we're going to reuse them by mounting them into the garden shed.
When we first got this garage, all the garden tools were actually on this side. And it does make sense because this is a 2-car garage door in space, and then this is roughly 9 feet. And so they were all over here, but I thought this would make a really good spot for my workshop. And what I would like to do is continue to build this into a better shop, but that'll be a video for another day. First things first, get the garden going, start growing some food. We have had them in the past, little gardens, edible gardens, and it's so much fun to be able to go out and eat right off the land. But also, you know, come out, water the plants, see how things are going, how things are growing, what you can do different in the next year, how you can expand on things, make them bigger. This yard was really a big reason to buy this house. If it had been a tiny little lot, definitely would have passed. All right, keeping us in budget is an old can of brown spray paint that I just happen to have. I don't know why I had chocolate brown gloss enamel, but it matches. Not that it matters what color those things are. So I'm gonna give it a spray.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, this space looked really dark, dingy, and creepy, and I really didn't want to come in here for anything. So we've already made a huge improvement by turning it into such a pretty light and bright space. Next, we have to make the space useful because, like we've told you before, we have a ½ acre and we have big plans for our garden. And so having a nice shed like this is really going to help us out. So here are some ideas I have. Back on this back wall, I'd really like to add some shelving to help with storing extra pots and maybe some smaller tools and things like that. So I'm going to check in with Hal in his workshop to see what wood he has already on hand, because that might determine what kind of shelves we can make. One idea is to make some shelves that go in between the studs. Another idea would be to have some longer shelves that span maybe 2 or 3 of these.
Okay, since we're trying to fit a few of these pots, you saw all the terracotta pots that we have. I'm going with a couple of these scrap boards that I kept in the garage. And of course, cheating the budget, we're using scrap that we already have. I've had these in the garage for over a year now. I cleaned out the basement. These were basement shelves that were down there that we didn't want to use. So, 0 cost to the budget because we're already reaching the limit of that $500 self-imposed budget. Got the shelf nice and level. Now I can mark up where I'm going to put the supports. Got going to start with pre-drilling. And since this shelf isn't going to hold a whole lot of weight, probably just empty pots, I think 2 screws are going to be plenty. So you might be talking to your television right now, thinking I can hear you, and saying, you forgot to paint the outside of your support. I did not. I wanted to paint over the screws, so I went ahead and just left it, and I'm going to come back through with a brush and paint it. For the corner, I have a little nub to put in there. Exhibit A, the nub, and apparently I did forget to paint this. That's going to tuck up under there. Should have taken my own advice and pre-drilled. I'll definitely pre-drill on the next one. Kind of split a little bit at the end, but it's holding. This time I did take my own advice, pre-drilled. There we have it, shelves. We can start moving stuff in, getting a little more organized. Just gonna add those finishing touches, which got me thinking about how these projects always take longer than you expect. Just getting to the store and buying what you need, somehow twice as long. And can't tell, I'm wearing a flannel. Under the flannel is a long sleeve shirt. We did have a freeze, or really close to a freeze anyway.
We have an emergency use of the garden shed sooner than expected. We actually are having a freeze tonight, which is really unusual here in Florida. The temperature feels like 38 right now, which is super cold for me. So anyway, I'm loading up all of the seedlings that we've been growing and bringing them into the garden shed to keep them warm for the night.
First use of the garden shed, I think, is a success. All the plants look nice and healthy. We have a few days between freezes. We have another one coming in a few days. But I'm gonna go ahead and take these out before I get back to work on putting up some shelves. This is now weekend 4, I think. In case it's not, this is weekend 3. So we're on track. Started out really strong with that roof tear down and then the reframe. I got kind of sick. I got a cold last couple weeks ago, and that kind of slowed me down. And then just things happen. You know, it's life. It's always gonna happen until you're dead. Then it's not happening for you. But you keep going, persevere, and get the projects done. This is exciting. It's gonna be nice.
All right, we're getting this garden shed in shape, and we had some ideas to organize the smaller tools and some other things. So we just headed to the store, picked up some supplies, and we're going to show you what we got. We may not be going for a big Pinterest reveal with this one, but we do still want it to look aesthetically nice, and I do want it to be pretty so that when I go in there, I can enjoy the space. So in sticking with using things that we already have so that we can stay within budget, I am going to paint this pegboard that we just picked up at the store with this lemon leaves paint that we have left over from our pantry floor. And I realize not everybody has just renovated a house for 2 years, so you might not have all of these gallons of paint laying around, but a lot of times you can find paint pretty inexpensively. A lot of times on Facebook Marketplace, people might be giving stuff away, or like I mentioned earlier, there's usually that discounted paint at the hardware store where you can get it pretty inexpensively. So a coat of paint can really make a big difference. So we are going to paint it this pretty green color, and then this will be a really nice spot that I can use to hang some of the smaller garden tools. This is looking really streaky, but I'm going to put a couple coats on it, which will help protect the pegboard from any moisture also. And yeah, this would be easier if I was rolling it and it would probably look better, but we ran out of rollers, so I'm just using this brush that we already had.
Almost that time to hang the pegboard. 2 things left to do. One, we decided to put it right here and I decided to have some lip on the shelves, so I'm gonna cut that off, and this thing's gonna go up here. I also want to put a clear coat on the back because it's just so humid here. You saw what happens to the wood in this part of the yard. Not pretty. All right, this is going to be loud. Enjoy this music while I saw through this shelf. All right, while the mounting bracket's dry, I'm going to give this shot of clear coat enamel. Like I said earlier, just want to give it that little bit of extra protection. You know, even though with the new roof, hopefully there's no leaks, but it's still very humid climate, and if it gets steamy in there at all, which it probably will, this particle board's gonna just... All right, let's hope that preserves it for the next generation, or, you know, at least the next couple of years. Okay, now that the clear finish is dried on the back and hopefully sealed up against most of the weather, you know, like I said, not gonna get too wet in here if I did the roof right. But now it's time to mount, and I went ahead and made sure my marks were level. Now I just need to screw it in. Luckily that's magnetic. There you have it, pegboard. Now we just need to get the pegs and start hanging the tools. One step closer to getting this garden shed done, ready for the season. We've already been planting some things. I'd like to plant that cat 6 feet under. Just kidding. I love cats. Looks good. Like I said earlier, where does the time go? Who knows? Here, mostly in this garage, trapped in this old dirty flannel shirt. Okay, once this is dry, I will use a bit of clear coat. Again, something that I already had. Let's see what we can do with these. I think it's galvanized metal, so it really doesn't take much. Just gonna wipe them down. They overall look pretty good shape. There's a little corrosion on a couple of these. And they're gonna get dirty out there, and they're gonna get corroded again. And then one day when we abandon this home, someone will find it in the jungle and do this all over again. After looking over the sorry state of our garden tools, I decided some more prep work needed to be done on a few of these things. Nothing like rusty shears. There's a horror story in there somewhere, right? So yeah, I'm just gonna grind these down and sharpen blades where I need to sharpen blades. This shovel handle looks like it could probably use a clear coat. Just doing a little sprucing up so we can get this stuff ready to work in the immediate future. I'm gonna go ahead and take these apart. I just hit them with some WD-40, make sure it was loose. And then I'll throw it on the grinder. Ooh, so close. Don't know how much sharper that got, but it sure was fun. Got them back together. Just took a little bit of vinegar distilled vinegar and wiping years of grime off the handle. Make them look, well, not quite new again, but definitely better than they were when I found them. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with these, and then we'll hang the racks. Let's go ahead and hang these brackets together. Measuring device, marking device. 108 inches, otherwise known as 9 feet. Each one of these is 48 inches. So we got about 6 inches on either side. So I don't want the brackets touching, so I'm gonna do 5 inches, and then that's gonna leave a gap. And I pre-measured, I want it 64 inches from the ground. 5 inches from the wall, and in order to ensure this is level, I went ahead and marked 64 inches out. So let's put a screw in the wall. All right, let's do it a few more times.
Okay, so remember last episode when I said this might not be a Pinterest reveal, it's a real world reveal because we are really using this garden shed. Well, the temperatures are dropping really, really low. So the plants are in here, and I'm gonna bring everything else in and finish putting this shed together. Let's just take a minute to appreciate the patina on some of these older pots. Somebody mentioned in the comments of the last video that older pots are better, and I completely agree. Most of these came from inside the shed here, and I scrubbed them, cleaned them up, and they just look so, so pretty. Some of these newer looking pots were mine. Time to put the tools away on our repurposed rack over here, and I just wanted to point out I found this in the garage, and I'm not really sure what this is meant for. This is a normal rake, and this is the size of this rake, but don't you think this would be the cutest thing for our daughter to use to help us rake up the leaves in a couple years? I'd say this is a little bit better than where we started. We still have a lot to do before this garden shed is finished, so I hope you'll come back next week to see us for episode 4. And in the meantime, wherever you are, we hope you're staying warm. Next time on our abandoned garden shed.
You can see the challenge before me. Definitely have to clean this before we can paint it. So check this out, I just found something.